The sudden buzz of her phone jarred Harper Adams from her peaceful slumber. A panicked voice on the other end belonged to her college roommate, begging her to fill in as a wedding photographer that very day. The original photographer had fallen ill with food poisoning, leaving a high-profile wedding without someone to capture its precious moments. Despite having zero experience with professional wedding photography, Harper couldn't refuse her friend in crisis, even if it meant facing a crowd of strangers with nothing but her semi-professional camera and a knack for finding beauty in unexpected places. "Claire, you know I'm just a nature photographer, right? I take pictures of birds and sunsets, not brides and grooms," Harper said, already climbing out of bed and mentally cataloging what she'd need for the day. "Please, Harper, you've got an amazing eye, and I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. The ceremony starts at 2 and I've got no one else. I'll pay you double what you'd normally charge." Claire's voice cracked with stress. Harper sighed, running her fingers through her tangled auburn hair. "Fine, but only because it's you. Text me the address and details." 4 hours later, Harper stood at the entrance of the Grand Willow Hotel, clutching her camera bag with sweaty palms. She'd spent the morning watching wedding photography tutorials and borrowing extra equipment from a photographer friend. Her navy blue dress was professional enough, and she'd pulled her hair into a sleek bun to complete the look of someone who knew what they were doing. The venue was breathtaking, a historic hotel with marble columns and crystal chandeliers. As Harper wandered through, taking test shots and adjusting settings, she tried to ignore the butterflies in her stomach. The wedding coordinator spotted her, rushing over with a tablet in hand. "You must be the replacement photographer. Thank God you're here early. The bride is getting ready in the East Wing suite, and I need you to start with the pre-ceremony shots right away." Before Harper could respond, she was whisked away through corridors and up an elevator to capture the bride's preparations. The room was a flurry of activity: bridesmaids in matching silk robes, makeup artists with their tools spread across tables, and champagne flutes everywhere. The bride, a radiant blonde named Vanessa, greeted Harper with unexpected warmth. "Claire told me about the switch." "Don't worry, I trust her judgment completely." Harper relaxed slightly, finding her rhythm as she photographed the intimate moments: the mother of the bride fastening a necklace, bridesmaids laughing together, the careful application of mascara. She lost herself in the work, forgetting her anxiety as she framed each shot with care. "The groomsmen are ready for their photos in the garden," the coordinator announced, popping her head into the suite. Harper nodded, gathering her gear. The garden was a meticulously maintained paradise, with stone pathways winding through flower beds and fountains. The groom and his party were gathered near a gazebo, adjusting ties and cufflinks. As she approached, Harper's eyes were immediately drawn to one man standing slightly apart from the group. Tall with broad shoulders, his dark suit was impeccably tailored to his athletic frame. His chestnut hair was styled neatly, and when he turned, Harper nearly stumbled. His face was striking: strong jaw, perfectly proportioned features, and eyes so intensely blue they were visible even from a distance. "Gentlemen, I'm Harper, your photographer for today," she announced, hoping her voice sounded more confident than she felt. The groom stepped forward with a friendly smile. "I'm Ryan, and this is my crew. We've been told to behave and follow your instructions." Harper laughed, relaxing slightly. "Perfect. Let's start with some group shots by the fountain." As she directed the men into position, she noticed the handsome one watching her with curious interest. When she asked them to rearrange, he moved without being specifically directed, anticipating the composition she was creating. "You have an eye for this," she commented, surprised. "Just trying to make your job easier," he replied, his voice deep and smooth. "I'm Harper," she said, extending her hand before realizing she'd already introduced herself to the group. A smile touched his lips. "Ethan Osgood, best man and professional photo subject for the day." There was something magnetic about him, but Harper reminded herself she was here to work, not flirt with groomsmen, even extraordinarily handsome ones. She continued directing the shoot, capturing candid moments between the friends and the more formal portraits required for wedding albums. Throughout the session, she felt Ethan's eyes on her. Not in an uncomfortable way, but with a sort of thoughtful assessment that made her both self-conscious and intrigued. Whenever she glanced his way, he was either watching her work or perfectly posed for her camera. "Have you been doing this long?" he asked during a brief lull while the other groomsmen were adjusting their boutonnieres. Harper hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "Actually, I'm filling in last minute. I usually photograph wildlife and landscapes." Ethan's eyebrows rose slightly. "Brave of you to take this on, or foolish," Harper replied with a self-deprecating smile, "but a friend was in a bind, so here I am." "I admire adaptability," Ethan said. Something in his tone suggested he wasn't just making small talk. Before she could respond, the wedding coordinator appeared, hurrying Harper back to the bride for final preparation photos. As she left, she felt Ethan's gaze following her, sending an unexpected flutter through her chest. The ceremony was beautiful, and Harper found herself moving instinctively to capture each significant moment. She documented the bride's entrance, the exchange of vows, the first kiss as husband and wife, all while staying unobtrusive yet thorough. Several times she noticed Ethan watching her instead of the ceremony, his expression unreadable but intense. During the reception, Harper worked tirelessly, photographing the first dance, cake cutting, and countless candid moments of celebration. She was adjusting her lens when a deep voice spoke from beside her. "You're missing the party," Ethan said, offering her a glass of water. "Thought you might need this." "Thank you." Harper accepted gratefully, suddenly aware of how thirsty she was. "And I'm not supposed to be partying." "I'm working." "Even professionals take breaks," he countered. "How are you holding up?" "Better than expected. It's actually kind of exciting, trying something new." She took a long drink. "Though I admit I'm exhausted and we're only halfway through." Ethan leaned slightly closer. "You'd never know you weren't a professional wedding photographer. You have a natural talent." Something about his compliment felt genuine rather than flirtatious. "I appreciate that, but I think I'll stick to my birds and sunsets after today." "What got you into photography?" he asked, seeming genuinely interested. Harper found herself explaining her love of capturing fleeting moments in nature, how she'd built a modest but growing following on social media, and her dream of someday publishing a book of her work. Ethan listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions that showed he was truly engaged. "What about you?" she finally asked. "What do you do when you're not being the best man?" A flicker of amusement crossed his face. "I run a company." "What kind of company?" Harper asked, raising her camera to capture a child twirling on the dance floor. "Digital communications. We develop software that helps businesses connect with their customers more effectively." His explanation was simple but precise. "Sounds impressive," Harper said, genuinely interested despite her focus remaining on the wedding guests. "It keeps me busy," Ethan replied modestly. "Too busy, according to Ryan. He's been telling me I need a life outside the office for years." Harper smiled. "And here you are, fulfilling your best man duties beautifully." "See, balance." Ethan laughed, a warm, genuine sound that made Harper want to capture it somehow. One weekend of balance doesn't quite make up for years of workaholic behavior, but it's a start. The wedding coordinator appeared again, signaling that the couple was about to toss the bouquet. Harper excused herself to get into position, feeling Ethan's eyes follow her as she moved through the crowd. Throughout the evening, Harper found herself repeatedly crossing paths with Ethan. Sometimes they exchanged a few words, other times just a glance and a smile. Each interaction left her increasingly curious about this man who seemed both confident and humble, powerful yet unassuming. As the reception wound down, Harper was photographing the final moments, guests saying goodbye to the newlyweds' last dances, the couple's exit under a shower of rose petals. When she finally lowered her camera, her shoulders ached and her feet were throbbing in her heels. "You've earned your fee tonight," Ethan said, appearing beside her as the last guests departed. Harper smiled tiredly. "I hope the photos turn out as well as I think they might. It would be terrible to disappoint them." "I'm certain they'll be exceptional," Ethan said with conviction. He hesitated, then added, "I'd like to see your regular work sometime, your nature photography." Harper felt a flutter of pleasure at his interest. "I have a website, I could give you the address." "Or you could show me over coffee," Ethan suggested, his confident demeanor faltering slightly, revealing a hint of vulnerability that Harper found unexpectedly charming. She found herself nodding before she could overthink it. "I'd like that." They exchanged numbers, and Harper promised to text him once she'd recovered from the marathon wedding day. As she packed up her equipment, she couldn't help but smile to herself. What had started as a favor for a friend had somehow led to a coffee date with the most intriguing man she'd met in years. 3 days later, Harper sat in a cozy coffee shop, her tablet displaying her portfolio as Ethan scrolled through the images with genuine interest. His reactions to her work were thoughtful and perceptive, noting details others often missed. "These are extraordinary," he said, lingering on a photograph of a hawk in flight against a stormy sky. "You have a gift for capturing emotion in non-human subjects. That's rare." Harper felt herself blushing at his praise. "Thank you, it's about patience mostly, waiting for the perfect moment." "And recognizing it when it comes," Ethan added. He set down the tablet and looked at her directly. "The wedding photos turned out beautifully, by the way. Ryan sent me some of the previews you delivered. Everyone's talking about them." "Really, that's a relief." Harper smiled, wrapping her hands around her mug. "I was worried I'd messed up their big day. Quite the opposite. You've apparently stumbled into a new career path." Ethan's blue eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "Ryan's cousin is getting married in the spring and wants to book you." Harper laughed, surprised. "I'm flattered, but I don't think I'm ready to make wedding photography my new specialty." "Fair enough," Ethan agreed. "Though I must admit, I'm selfishly glad you took that job. Our paths might never have crossed otherwise." There was something about his directness that Harper found refreshing. No games, no pretense. "I'm glad too, although I'll confess something, I had no idea who you were at the wedding." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Well, after we met, one of the bridesmaids nearly fainted when I mentioned I'd been talking with Ethan Osgood. She filled me in on the whole tech mogul, CEO of Osgood Connect, 30 under 30 details." Harper shrugged. "I'm not very plugged into the business world." Ethan's laugh was genuine and slightly relieved. "That's refreshing, actually. Most people I meet these days have Googled me before we've even shaken hands." "Sorry to disappoint." "I was too busy cramming wedding photography tips to research the guest list," Harper teased. "Don't apologize. It's nice to be just Ethan for once, not Ethan Osgood, CEO. He leaned forward slightly. "Though I hope my company's success doesn't intimidate you." Harper considered this. "Should it?" "You're successful at what you do. I'm working toward success in my field. We're just on different paths." Something in Ethan's expression softened. "I like your perspective, Harper Adams." Their coffee date extended to lunch, then a walk through a nearby park where Harper couldn't resist pointing out interesting birds and plant compositions. Ethan listened attentively, asking questions that revealed his genuine interest in understanding her world. By the time they parted ways that afternoon, Harper felt a connection that went beyond physical attraction. Ethan was intelligent, thoughtful, and surprisingly down to earth for someone in his position. When he asked if he could see her again, her yes came without hesitation. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a pattern of regular dates dinners at small neighborhood restaurants Ethan had never tried, exhibits at photography galleries Harper loved, and long walks where they talked about everything from childhood memories to future aspirations. Harper learned that beneath Ethan's successful exterior was a man who'd worked extraordinarily hard to build his company from the ground up, fueled by a genuine passion for improving how businesses communicate. He'd sacrificed a personal life for his professional one, something he was only now beginning to reconsider. For his part, Ethan seemed fascinated by Harper's creative perspective and her contentment with a life that prioritized passion over profit. He began carrying the small camera she'd given him, sending her photos of moments that caught his eye throughout his day. "You're ruining me," he told her one evening as they walked along the waterfront. I used to see the world in quarterly reports and market trends. Now I'm noticing light patterns and composition everywhere I go." Harper laughed, bumping her shoulder against his arm playfully. "I'm broadening your horizons, that's a good thing." "It is," Ethan agreed, taking her hand in his. "You're changing how I see everything, Harper." Their relationship deepened, but it wasn't without challenges. Ethan's schedule was demanding, with last-minute meetings and occasional international trips. Harper's freelance work meant financial uncertainty and periods of intense focus when she was on assignment. Their worlds collided most notably when Ethan invited Harper to be his date for a major industry gala. The event was far more extravagant than anything Harper had experienced: designer gowns, celebrity guests, and photographers documenting every arrival. "I feel like I'm in a movie," Harper whispered as they entered the ornate ballroom, acutely aware of curious glances. Ethan rarely brought dates to business functions, she'd learned. "You look like a movie star," Ethan replied, his eyes appreciative as they took in her emerald green gown borrowed from a friend and altered hastily to fit her petite frame. Throughout the evening, Harper observed Ethan in his element, confident, respected, commanding attention without seeking it. She watched as people approached him with deference and admiration, seeing a side of him that was both impressive and slightly intimidating. "Are you having a terrible time?" Ethan asked when he finally extracted himself from a group of investors to find her by the windows, watching the city lights. "Not at all," Harper said honestly. "It's fascinating watching you work. You're good at what you do. This isn't work, this is the performative part I tolerate because it's necessary." Ethan took her hand. "The real work happens in offices and conference rooms, not at galas," Harper smiled. "Well, you perform it well, though I'm not sure I fit into this world of yours." Ethan's expression grew serious. "You fit with me, that's what matters." He hesitated, then added, "Though I understand if all this seems overwhelming." "It's not that," Harper said thoughtfully. "It's just different. My biggest events involve mud boots and bug spray, not champagne and evening gowns." Ethan laughed. "I'd take mud boots with you over champagne with anyone else." He pulled her gently toward the dance floor. "Dance with me." As they moved together to the music, Harper felt the eyes of others on them, but found she didn't mind. Being with Ethan made her feel both grounded and like she was soaring simultaneously. The following morning, Harper awoke to find her face on several society pages, described as the mystery woman who had captured the attention of one of the city's most eligible bachelors. The articles speculated about her identity, her background, and the nature of their relationship. "I'm sorry about this," Ethan said when he called, having seen the coverage himself. "I should have warned you it might happen." "It's strange," Harper admitted, "but I'm not upset, though my mother called to ask why she had to learn about my millionaire boyfriend from her book club friends." Ethan's laughter turned to a more serious tone. "Does it bother you, being associated with me this way?" Harper considered the question carefully. "No, but I want to be clear that if this continues I mean I'm with you because of who you are, not what you have." "I know that," Ethan said softly. "It's one of the countless reasons I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them, unplanned but undeniably true. Harper's heart raced as she realized she felt the same way. "I think I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted, the words both terrifying and exhilarating to speak aloud. Their relationship deepened over the next few months. Harper continued her photography, receiving a grant to document migratory birds along the coast, a project that took her away for weeks at a time. Ethan supported her ambitions wholeheartedly, even surprising her with high-end equipment she could never have afforded herself. "This is too much," she protested when he presented her with a lens that cost more than 3 months of her rent. "It's an investment in your talent," Ethan insisted. "Besides, it's selfish on my part. Your success means I get to see more of your extraordinary work." For Harper's part, she brought balance to Ethan's life, encouraging him to delegate more and create boundaries around his work hours. His executive team noticed the change, commenting on his more relaxed demeanor and clearer thinking. "You're good for business," his COO told Harper when they met at a company event. He's making better decisions since you came into his life." 6 months after they met, Ethan joined Harper on one of her photography expeditions, a weekend trip to a remote forest to capture images of an elusive owl species. He traded his tailored suits for hiking clothes and followed Harper through mud, rain, and dense undergrowth without complaint. "I never understood your passion until now," he told her as they sat in a blind, waiting patiently for hours. "Seeing you in your element, the focus and dedication, it's remarkable." When the owl finally appeared and Harper captured a perfect sequence of images, Ethan's excitement matched her own. That night in their small cabin with rain pattering on the roof, Harper realized she had never felt more complete. Ethan, despite his wealth and status, had embraced her world as she had tentatively embraced his. It was on a similar trip, nearly a year after they met, that Ethan proposed. They were on a clifftop at sunrise, Harper photographing the golden light breaking over distant mountains. When she lowered her camera, she found Ethan on one knee beside her, holding a simple but elegant ring. "Harper Adams, you've shown me how to see beauty in moments I used to rush past. You've taught me that success isn't measured in acquisitions or achievements, but in connections and experiences." His voice was steady but filled with emotion. "I want to experience every sunrise, every unexpected moment, every adventure life offers with you. Will you marry me?" Harper's hands trembled as she set down her beloved camera and reached for him. "Yes," she whispered, tears blurring her vision. "Yes, I will." The ring fit perfectly, a central diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires the color of bluebird wings. Ethan had designed it himself, inspired by one of Harper's favorite photographs. Their engagement made headlines in business journals and society pages alike, but the couple remained focused on building their life together. They purchased a home with both a state-of-the-art home office for Ethan and a professional studio for Harper, creating spaces where their individual pursuits could flourish while their lives intertwined. When they married the following spring, Harper insisted on hiring a professional wedding photographer, laughing that she'd experienced enough wedding photography stress to last a lifetime. The ceremony was intimate, held in a garden with only close friends and family present. Ryan served as Ethan's best man, while Claire, whose desperate phone call had started everything, was Harper's maid of honor. "Who would have thought a case of food poisoning would lead to this?" Claire whispered as they watched Ethan and Harper exchange vows. During the reception, Ethan pulled Harper away from the celebration for a moment alone. "I have something for you," he said, handing her a small, carefully wrapped package. Inside was a custom-made leather-bound book. Harper opened it to find photographs, not her own work, but images of her. Harper photographing birds at sunrise, Harper laughing over dinner, Harper concentrating as she edited images, Harper sleeping peacefully with morning light across her face. All taken by Ethan over their time together. "You've spent our relationship capturing the world through your lens," Ethan said softly. "This is how I see you, passionate, brilliant, beautiful in every moment." Harper traced the images with her fingertips, overwhelmed by the thought and love behind the gift. "When did you take these?" "I never noticed. You taught me to capture moments without disturbing them," Ethan said with a smile. "I had an excellent teacher." Harper kissed him, pouring all her emotions into the gesture. "I love you," she whispered against his lips. "And I love you," Ethan replied. Every day more than the last. 5 years later, Harper stood in the nursery of their home, photographing their twin daughters as they slept. At 3 months old, Emma and Olivia were already displaying distinct personalities, Emma spirited and curious, Olivia thoughtful and observant. Ethan appeared in the doorway, watching his wife and daughters with undisguised adoration. He'd restructured his company to allow him to be home more, passing day-to-day operations to trusted executives while he focused on strategic direction. Harper had published 2 successful books of nature photography and was working on a third, focused on documenting wildlife in urban environments. "They're perfect," Ethan whispered, moving to stand beside Harper. "They are," she agreed, leaning against him. "Though I'm fairly certain Emma's going to be climbing out of her crib before she can walk. Takes after her mother," Ethan teased, pressing a kiss to Harper's temple. Fearless explorer, Harper smiled, setting down her camera to turn into her husband's embrace. I've been thinking about that day at Ryan's wedding, how close I came to not being there, to never meeting you. I'm grateful every day that you said yes to that last-minute request, Ethan said, though I'd like to think we would have found each other somehow, someway. You think so? In a city of millions, Ethan's eyes, still that remarkable blue that had first caught her attention, held hers with certainty. I do. Some connections are inevitable, Harper. Ours was written in the stars, or at least captured in perfect light. Harper laughed softly, mindful of the sleeping babies. Always the romantic. Only with you, Ethan replied, taking her hand. Always with you. As they stood together watching over their daughters, Harper reflected on the journey that had brought them here from a panic-filled morning preparing for a wedding job she wasn't qualified for, to creating a family with a man whose wealth and status had been the least interesting things about him. Life had a way of creating the most beautiful compositions from the most unexpected elements, and Harper, who had spent her career capturing fleeting moments of beauty, recognized that their love, their family, their shared life was the most extraordinary composition of all.